Good morning, UUMAN. I'm Jim Saunders. I'm a member of this congregation. And while Reverend Dave is on vacation, we have a great lineup of speakers. And today is no exception. For today, we have Kim Palmer, who is kind of bittersweet. We get to hear her, and then she has to leave. But she's been a member here for many years and is an ordained Unitarian Universalist minister, serving as affiliated community minister with UUMAN. She is a board-certified chaplain and served at Emory University in the dual role of chaplain and spiritual research until retiring with her wife, Marty. This may be the last time we get to hear her, for she and Marty will be moving to Durham, North Carolina. And please plan to join us after the service, for there's a going away party in the fellowship hall. And I know there's cake. So on behalf of Kim, our Director of Religious Education, Lexi Brown, Music Director, Alex Peach, my fellow worship associates, and the dedicated technical team that is making the live stream possible today, I'd like to welcome you to the Unitarian Universalist Metro Atlanta North that fortunately we shortened to UUMAN. So we are a liberal faith community with our mission to nurture our spirit, strive for justice, and transform the world. No matter who you are, whom you love, or where you are in your spiritual journey, you are welcome here. If there are any visiting us today and you, for the first time, and you feel comfortable doing so, if you could stand and give us your name so we can all worship as friends. So, any hither? Hello. Any yonder? Well, to the visitors, we're here to dispel the rumor that there are no liberals in Roswell. We're glad you're visiting us this morning, and on the back of your order of worship, there's a QR code that you can scan if you have other questions, or you can just talk to any member. We're glad to have you here today, and we have a few announcements. The schedule for today's second hour of adult enrichment offerings is printed in the order of worship. The time may be delayed a bit for the Kim and Marty party may run along. The already summer program is underway. While all ages are welcome in the service, we do have activity for children in Fellowship Hall during the service. If you prefer to stay, over in that corner is a fidget shelf, and it's actually open to anybody. The Playscape team would like to thank everyone who has participated in the envelope challenge and to date, and invites all of our members to join us. As we experienced at the Emory Park service a couple of weeks ago, being outside is transformative for all ages. It's certainly for our children. The project is intended to create a welcoming and inspirational safe place for our future visitors, friends, family, and community. I think Kelly's mentioned this to me a few times. If you find the QR code in your order of worship for a quick way to participate, all donations, which total $125 or more, will also be eligible for personal picket plaque, which will be displayed within the playscape. The Common Grounds House, the Common Grounds Coffee House will start Saturday, June 15th, and the doors open at 7 with a $5 suggested donation. So come and support your local musicians. And now is part of the service where you can stand and say hello to the people around you.
We have a lively bunch. We enter this sanctuary as full, complicated selves and find welcome here. Jim said it. Whoever you are, whoever you love, wherever you are on your spiritual journey, you're welcome here. Our call to worship today is a welcoming message I ran into one time. It's from the Our Lady of Lourdes Catholic community, and here it is. We extend a special welcome to those who are single, married, divorced, gay, filthy rich, dirt poor, yo no habla inglés. We extend a special welcome to those who are crying newborns, skinny as a rail, or could afford to lose a few pounds. We welcome you if you can sing like Andrea Bocelli or like our pastor who can't carry a note in a bucket. You're welcome here if you're just browsing, just woke up, or just got out of jail. We don't care if you're more Catholic than the Pope or haven't been to church since little Joey's baptism. We extend a special welcome to those who are over 60 but not grown up yet, and to teenagers who are growing up too fast. We welcome soccer moms, NASCAR dads, starving artists, tree huggers, latte sippers, vegetarians, and junk food eaters. We welcome those who are in recovery or still addicted. We welcome you if you're having problems, or if you're down in the dumps, or if you don't like organized religion. We've been there too. If you blew all your offering money at the dog track, you're welcome here. We offer a special welcome to those who think the earth is flat, work too hard, don't work, can't spell, or because grandma's in town and wanted to go to church. We welcome those who are inked, pierced, or both. We offer a special welcome to those who could use a prayer right now, had religion shoved down your throat as a kid, or got lost in traffic and wound up here by mistake. We welcome tourists, seekers and doubters, bleeding hearts, and you. Come, let us worship together as our full, complicated selves.
And now, if you'll say with me the words in your order of worship as we light the chalice. Afraid that our inner light will be extinguished or our inner darkness exposed, we hide our truth in each other. In the process, we become separate from our soul. And now, with your hardback hymnal, if you can stand and sing 361, Enter, Rejoice, and Come In. Yes, thank you. This is the time of the service that we share our joys and sorrows. It's symbolic that we drop the pebble in the water, for it creates ripples, sending our joys and sorrows out to the universe. And there's something very therapeutic by expressing them aloud here with your loving community. So if you're so moved, please come forward, tell us who you are, express your joy or concern.
My name is Kelly Callan. I'm a member of the congregation, and my husband Todd, which many of you know, says I have an uncanny talent for taking a slight into a compliment. For example, where's Ashok? One of my funniest stories, Ashok Nagrani had said to my husband, or no, he had said to me, Kelly, I don't know how Todd does it. And I went home and I said, Todd, Ashok gave you the biggest compliment today. To which Todd said, Kelly, I don't think that was a compliment to you. I said, oh, that's really, we've been together almost 20 years. To Jim Saunders, I hope to more of us pushing people over the edge. And this one, of course, is for Kim and Marty. What we are losing, somebody else is gaining, and I am so happy for them because I'm sure that they need whatever you're bringing to them. So thank you so much for all you've given to us.
So this is on heels what Kelly just said. Please join us after service right away for some cake and farewell messages to Kim and Marty because we're going to miss them a lot. And we are, I'm going to be creating a, lost my mind, what is it? Slideshow, thank you. With all the pictures I'm going to take by the We Will Miss You poster banner that's by the fireplace. And I'm going to ask, though, in the interest of time, and there's a lot of folks, if you're here with someone else, bring that person or persons with you over there, and I'll take a group or duo shot. And of course, if you're here by yourself, I would love to take a picture of you as well to include in the slideshow. So please join us after service.
Hi, I'm Judy Jewell. I have a happy thing and a sad thing. The happy, the happy thing is our middle daughter just graduated from a nurse anesthetist school, and she's 52 years old, and we're very proud of her, very excited. So the sad thing is, Kim. For several years, we want to thank you for your leadership in organizing, leading, facilitating. I knew I couldn't do it without crying. And most of all, listening with caring kindness to our cancer group, our surviving cancer group. It's been going on for several years, and it's meant the world to all of us to be together and to have Kim do all the loving support that she gave us. Thank you.
My name is Bob Pop, and I'm a member of this congregation. I want to drop a pebble today for Rick Lakes. Many of you know Rick and Pat. They've been members here for quite some time. Rick had a mild heart attack a couple weeks ago and is at home recovering and doing okay. So just keep him in your thoughts.
I had a friend this week who said that they were troubled, but they didn't want to burden anybody. So this is a safe place to where we can unburden ourselves of our sorrows and lift ourselves up, be lifted up by the community with the joys. So I'm going to drop one last pebble for those unspoken joys and sorrows.
Good morning. When I was in about 7th grade, the girls used to gossip about each other. Who had big boobs? Who stuffed their bra with tissues? Who was so flat-chested as to be without hope? Girls wore tight set sweaters and secretly looked at the boys to see if the boys were looking at them. Not me. Once I began developing breasts, I had a very uneasy relationship with my own body. I wore baggy shirts and slouched my shoulders to hide my changing form. Even into young adulthood, I was embarrassed and ashamed about my breasts. They were too floppy, too uneven, not round enough, not perky enough. Although the teen years can be particularly hard when it comes to how we look, I think even as adults, we can be our own worst critics. When I was in seminary, I became good friends with a classmate. Early in our relationship, as we were still getting to know each other, we went out to dinner. We put in our order and then sat chatting in the booth, waiting for our meal to arrive. There was a pause in the conversation, and my new friend, leaned across the table and stroked my cheek. "You're hairy," she said, and I almost died on the spot. I froze, my mind racing, frantically casting about for how to respond. Then she said, "I've got bumps." She stroked her own cheek, and I realized that indeed she did have bumps, rather than the silky smooth skin all the magazine advertisements tell us that women should have. I recall the incident with amusement now, thinking back on how panicked it was to have been called out on my body hair, a legacy, I believe, from my Spanish heritage on my mother's side. Her comment brought back the shame from my younger years when I was bullied in gym class for not having started shaving my legs yet. And yet for my buddy, it was a simple observation, delivered without judgment. Some people are hairier than others. Some people have bumps. We make all sorts of judgments about our bodies. Too fat, too thin, too pale, too dark, too tall, not tall enough, too wrinkled, too saggy, too weak. Especially as we age, or after we have children, or when we become injured or more sedentary and spend less time in motion, our bodies may change in ways that we don't like. Gravity takes a toll. Muscle tone is lost. We may develop a bit of a paunch or a turkey neck, or that flabby part that hangs from the back of our arms. Sometimes it seems like aging is just one long, ongoing adjustment to changes in the body. How can we let go of the judgment? I think it's interesting to consider that our body is both part of who we are and also not exactly who we are, but more like where we live. When I worked in the hospital, I encountered people who had a limb amputated. We hear about this too when soldiers are wounded in war or from horrific industrial or motor vehicle accidents. But generally speaking, a person doesn't feel like they aren't them anymore. They may be sad or angry that they've lost function. Their image of themselves might change, but they're still them. I've thought about what it would be like to have a leg amputated. Would I still be me? What about both legs? What if I became paralyzed? I'm pretty sure I wouldn't like it, the loss of independence and lifestyle, but I think I'd still be me. Someone once said, "You are just a ghost driving a meat-covered skeleton." A view that sees the essential part of the self as residing in the body, but not primarily being the body. Some might resonate with that view spiritually. Many consider the body to be the shell for our spirit, or essence, or spark of life. Philosophers and theologians have referred to the body as the seat of the soul. If words like ghost, spirit, and soul don't fit with your theology, perhaps a later modification of the quote from a more humanist perspective might resonate. I'm just a brain driving a meat suit around life. Our emotions, our personality, our sense of self all come from the brain. When we have a brain injury or a brain tumor, or we have become scrambled from medication, we can feel like we're losing who we are. So if who we are at the core is not our body, then why should our bodies or the changes that come with age or wear or injury make us feel bad about ourselves? As for me, the event that helped me let go of my embarrassment over my body was attending the Michigan Women's Music Festival in my mid-20s. It was a 5-day outdoor festival for women and girls only in northern Michigan. The year I went, the festival was attended by about 8,000 women. There was a stage where performers would play, fields and woods for setting up tents, ice-cold showers that I think must have been fed by melting glaciers or something, and an outdoor market where you could get everything from books to crafts to musical instruments to junk food. Because it was women only and a free and liberating atmosphere, or perhaps because it was in the 80s or because it was in the middle of nowhere, it seemed to be that clothing was optional. Many women went topless. Many wore nothing but sneakers or perhaps a hat to keep the sun out of their eyes. By the end of the first day, I had probably seen 5,000 women naked. There's nothing like 5,000 bodies to put your own physique into perspective. Bodies come in every color, every shape, every size. They take up the space they take up. They move with grace or without grace or with difficulty. They have lots of hair or little hair. They are wrinkled or smooth. They have scars and stretch marks. They are athletic or dumpy. Some are pregnant. Seeing the great diversity in women's bodies was a spiritual experience for me. It's where I learned to accept my own physical self. I am not more or less. I am simply one of the great variety in the beautiful diversity of humanity. Interestingly, I was not the only one who had that epiphany. Musician and festival kitchen worker Gretchen Phillips said, "I had never seen so many breasts before, so many bare asses, so much damn skin on such a vast terrain. I decided to make that weekend all about studying my body issues." Although I wasn't actively studying my body issues, the festival did produce a shift in my thinking. There was nothing like seeing people of every size and shape to help me understand that I am one particularity in a sea of difference, and there's nothing about me that stands out as beyond the norm. It also helps me to recognize that the imperfections I see so magnified in myself are not noticed, or at least not given that weight by others. Last summer, I put myself in a bathing suit for the first time in over a decade. I was at a conference in Houston, and our hotel had a river pool on the roof. It was in the shape of the outline of Texas, of course, with water jets that created a flow so that you could bob around the loop with minimal effort, chatting with your friends or enjoying a beverage. A group of chaplain colleagues, mostly younger and fitter than me, invited me to go swimming with them. Now, I'd like to think that if anyone is going to refrain from being judgmental, it's a group of chaplains. And yet this pesky tendency to fret about how I looked continued to raise its ugly head. I worried about being on the far side of middle age and being seen as dumpy. Then I remembered all the times I had been at a pool or at the beach when I was younger. All kinds of people were there. Some were young, some were old. Some were fat, some were thin. I didn't think a thing about it. I imagine most people don't. Except maybe children. When I was a child, I remember being intrigued by the jiggly skin of my grandfather's turkey neck. The neck, by the way, that I'm starting to see in my own mirror. But I loved it on my grandfather because it was a part of him and I loved him. I remember my dad joking about his beer gut. He said his stomach was so big and his hips were so narrow, he had to wear a belt or his stomach would pry his pants off. When I rode behind him on the motorcycle, I could barely reach my arms around his middle. And I remember feeling the muscles work under the fat when he shifted gears. I didn't have any judgment about it as a child. My mother was skinny. My dad had a big stomach. That's just who they were. I see that same acceptance with our family's next generation. When my niece was young, she came up to me and started playing with the skin tags on my neck. I was self-conscious of them, and while I was trying to figure out how to respond to this invasion of my space, she brightly said, "I like these." Like my grandfather's wattle, I can only imagine she liked them because they were part of me, and she liked me. She has a family of her own now, and at just under 2 years, my grandniece is a total joy. At a family dinner a few months ago, I had the baby on my lap, and she was repeatedly poking me by the lip. It took me a minute to realize that she was touching my mole, and again, I was struck by the innocence of the exploration. Aha! A bump on Granty Kim's face. Thinking about these memories reminded me of my own childhood and visiting the older couple next door. They were retired, did a lot of traveling, and Mrs. May was always deeply tanned. She also had numerous dark little bumps on her face, little raised moles. She looked different from everyone else I knew, and I loved those dark little bumps. I thought she was pretty. I thought they made her look exotic. It never occurred to me to judge her or to wonder if she was self-conscious about them. I loved her face because I loved her. And ultimately, it goes back to what I learned from my seminary friend. Some people are hairy. Some have bumps. When we are inclined to judge ourselves harshly for some physical attribute, it helps remembering that we are more than just our body. Who we really are is what's inside. The body is just how we move through the world, and it's going to change over time. We might remember that we are much more focused on our perceived flaws than anyone else around us, who might not even notice the things that lead us to have such dismay. And regardless, we can remember that any characteristic we have is part of the great diversity of humankind, that we are no more an outlier than anyone else. And finally, let us remember that the children in our lives love our warts, our bumps, our flab, our waddles, because they love us, and these things are part of us. When I was a student in seminary, I led a reflection from my peer group where I showed a montage of a variety of pictures of dogs. There was the tall, thin whippet, every rib and vertebra distinct. There were the pit bull and Rottweiler, big boned, bulky, stocky, muscular dogs. There were energetic puppies and old dogs with white muzzles. There was a dog with one eye, one with only 3 legs. There was a fat beagle and a splotchy mutt that looked like it couldn't figure out what color it was supposed to be. I asked the group whether these dogs were cute or ugly, whether any seemed better than the others, more loving or more worthy of love. The group thought all the dogs were cute, all were loving, all were worthy. I pointed out that it was the same with people. Tall, short, fat, thin, muscular, or slight. We are all worthy. We all have our own beauty. We just need to look at ourselves the way we look at those dogs, or perhaps the way dogs and children look at us. Our attributes need not be a cause of embarrassment or shame. Our physical differences do not make us better or worse than anyone else. Most people have warts of one sort or another. Just as we accept those around us, we can learn to accept ourselves, warts and all. May it be so.
I admire Kim to be able to speak to us so candidly and openly. You just feel like you're connecting with the spirit that has some answers we may need to hear. Years ago, Kim and I both signed up for a spiritual writing course. This was before she went to seminary, and her talents had not been totally exposed. So after the first class, I went up to her to say, I'm so glad you're taking this class. It's going to be a pleasure to do it with you. She said, I was about to say the same thing. And she's helped me unconfuse myself on a number of issues. So we've all carved out a place in our heart for Kim and Marty. So we carry them with us wherever they may be. Our mission is to transform the world, but we need to finance that mission. Today, we take up the morning offering. If you'll stand and sing in the teal hymnal, 1053, How Could Anyone? And now, if you'll join with me saying the words for extinguishing the chalice found in your order of worship. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we're together.
As we leave this place and start a new week, let us strive to be good people, good to others, good to the world, and good to ourselves. The service is ended. Go in peace and enjoy the party next door.